So how's everybody doing? I'm about to do a big project today. Well, it's not that big, but it does involve unhooking my solar system and wiring something in. And the thing that I'm wiring in is this inverter right here. Now, I used to have a 300 watt inverter, and it honestly worked great. There was no problems with it, but it recently broke. It was my fault. I'm not even going to get into the details, but let's just say when I pulled my rear storage up while it was raining, some water got in, and luckily it wasn't that serious, but it did end up some stuff got exposed to water that shouldn't have been exposed to water. And it's just because when I opened the back hatch, rain got in and I didn't realize it, and it actually didn't stop working right away. Luckily there was no fire, so now I know to be very aware when it's raining outside about opening that back door, because honestly, unless that door is closed, a lot of my interior cables aren't as protected as they should be. They're indoor. And so now I know that, and now I'll be more careful and try to think ahead in those types of situations. But anyway, getting to the point, I have some cables here. And what I'm going to do with these cables is I'm going to hook up this 700 watt Renogy inverter that Cora sent me. I didn't upgrade. I've had this just sitting around in my van for a while. I didn't upgrade right away just because, like I said, everything was working and there was no like functional reason the 700 watt inverter was going to give me any more or less than what I was getting from 300 watt as far as the actual electronic objects I use in the van. I mean, I mostly just charge my, my phone, my laptop. I'm not running anything that needs a massive power draw, and so the 300 watt inverter was honestly doing great. So there was really like no desperate need to have a larger inverter. But having no inverter has been a huge problem. I have been running some stuff off of this power station right here, but it's a tricky balance keeping the power station charged and the solar system, and charging this off the solar system, but then remembering to unplug it before it gets too late in the day so that the solar batteries don't get too depleted, especially if I'm using this a lot. I mean, right now you can see that my blender is plugged in here. And I'd rather save this for when I need something like on a picnic table or something outside of the van and not use it so much in the van. So once I hook up this inverter, I should be able to run, if there's anything that's a larger power draw than normal, I should be able to run it directly off of the inverter, off my solar. Besides, I spent money on a solar system and batteries, and I know that was mostly to keep a fridge running, but there's extra power there all the time, and instead of like moving it over here so I can use it, it makes much more sense to just draw directly off the solar system, because it takes more work, I think, to charge this up than it will to like run my blender for a little bit and just have this charge for when I need power outside the van. So I think it'll really shift, how I use power in the van, hopefully in a positive way, but that's the project for the day. All right, let's get to it. So I'm in my favorite place, Home Depot land, and this is the hard part of any project. It's just getting all the stuff pulled out, and I just didn't feel like capturing that on camera, but this shelf pretty much does what I wanted to do. I just grabbed the sides and I'm able to pull it out. Laying on top of here are my 3 cables of interest today. That's my black ground, my red, and I'm also going to be using this for some fans, and I'll show that to you as I get to that. But these 2 cables are the most important, and that required me being able to get to the battery down here, and running the back of the inverter right here down here. I'm going to run the red wire for the inverter to my fuse right there, and then I'm just going to ground the black with another black. But you should not do this kind of work with things live, so this is my connection to live power from the solar system, and I'm just going to kill all that power just so I can actually get things done. So the first step was taking these little black and red covers off. which of course makes it pretty simple. Positive, negative, negative, positive. Here's our cables. So now we're going to connect these to the new inverter. Now the best time to put these back on seems to be just before you tighten the other side, because otherwise they won't fit back on. Number 2. Capture. So now there's 2 things to do. 1, make sure this inverter actually works, and 2, get all this stuff back into the garage. Oh yeah, and that one more thing I was mentioning, which is hooking up the fan. Alright, so here's the big test. This has one USB port as well as 2 outlets. So first of all, USB port. I need something that charges. Where's my... I don't know. Anything. There we go. We're going to use our RAV power bank here to see if it'll charge off USB. So I'm going to type it, plug in Type-C. And I don't know how well you can see it. You probably can't see it at all. But I am getting a power reading off of being plugged into the USB here. It did beep when I turned it on, so it's off. It beeps for a second and then it goes away. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad. Like, I need to look up the manual for this. Again, I got it, you know, secondhand, so I don't know. So we're gonna unplug that, and then, so this is my battery charger for my tools. We're gonna plug that into the inverter and see what happens there. So we're plugged into the inverter, and okay, and then let's see. There we go. There's the red. And the battery's fully charged, so it immediately went to green. I'm gonna unplug it, plug it back in. Let's see. Yep. So I don't know if you guys can see it, but I'm definitely getting power from the inverter. You know, I have no idea how many watts this thing pulls. Let's see, does it tell me? 50 watts. That's a 700 watt inverter, so this isn't really pushing it. So yeah, that's what it says on here. Input is 50 watts, so this is only pulling like 50 watts, but the green button is on. This battery is fully charged. It had been previously charged, but I just wanted to see a power response. Okay, so project 2 of the day is I have 2 of these little fans. People always ask me about heat, and they run off USB power. I have one on the left, and then I also have one on this side. And then I also have, this one is rechargeable, but sometimes it runs out of power and I still need a fan on me. I love this one because I can clip it anywhere I want to. I did get rid of my Ryobi fan. There's a long story to that I'm not going to get into right now, because right now I have a bunch of stuff sitting out on the ground and I want to get it back inside the van. But I also want to basically wire these 2 USB fans up that are powered on a Y splitter, so I can just plug that splitter in whenever I want to turn on both fans, instead of having to like try to find a way to get them, you know, hooked up the traditional way. So I'm going to do that next. Where'd that fan go? You were up there, so I'm glad I accidentally knocked you down. Alright, so as I said, I got a couple of fans here. I have this one. This isn't really fancy stuff, guys, but I have this one right here. My window back there is cracked, which is why you can see that light spilling through, even with the window cover in. This is the window. I think the window cover off is just totally blown out. But anyway, I'm just gonna put this back for now, just because I don't have to figure out where to put it. And my side windows are open, which is why I'm getting so much light right now. But we got this fan, and then over on the other side of my bed we have this fan. I have so many wires right now. It's not even funny, coming out this this little power station right here, which is charging off the battery, by the way. It's charging via this little adapter thing right here. Well, anyway, this is my washcloth that I use every morning. So anyway, so this would be my fan system. Now, the way I have it set, I'm going to move these paper towels out of the way. I can move this over here and use this as easily as I could use this, but both fans are plugged into this. So ideally, I don't know if this USB port works when it's off. Let's find out. Guess not. Let's turn it on. All right. I hear this one going already. So you can, I'll turn it to behind me. This one's already spinning. And let's see here. This one. Just turn the other one on. So I have my two little fans spinning. And then when this one is charged, is it charged right now? No, it sounds like it's about to die. This little clip fan is charged. That gives me 3 fans. So for a while, I've had a Ryobi fan, which has been in a number of videos. I got it when I was in the car. I actually wish I'd had something this size when I was in the car. The Ryobi fan gave great air, but I was always chasing batteries, and even when I could plug it in, it needed like a regular plug. These are USB fans. If all else fails, I can plug it into one of my little portable power banks. Like, it doesn't require either a battery or a ground plug. And the reason why I like having these two little USB fans, and it's not perfect by any means, but the way I have them hung up here, I can sort of tilt them around a little bit, is that USB power is the most versatile power I have in the van. There's so many ways I can plug into a power bank, I can plug into the inverter, I can plug into the power station. Like, anywhere I have power, I'm able to power these little USB fans, and that includes this one because I can also just use it plugged into USB power. So having these USB powered fans have just been better than having battery operated fans. Now with the Ryobi fan, it was a construction site fan, so it used the same batteries as the Ryobi tools, but then I had to have this charging cycle going on. And finally, I'm at the point where I don't have to always have Ryobi batteries charged in order to power things in the van. I even got rid of my Ryobi radio. Like, I got rid of, and all this stuff was great. And I think for somebody who's occasionally camping, they would be great. But I replaced my Ryobi radio with just a simple little Bluetooth speaker, because I could Bluetooth speaker through that, but I hardly ever use the radio. And as a Bluetooth speaker, again, I had the problem of having to use the Ryobi batteries, which are great for a construction site, maybe great for occasional camping, but became kind of a pain. This charges by USB. I can use it powered by USB as well as charged up. So like USB powered things, either things that are rechargeable or things that plug in by USB, are just the most universal, easily used thing, because everything has some version of USB ports. So I'm not desperate for a way to plug in things. Things that use like standard power, like these guys, are kind of a pain in the butt. Because it depends on how many options for power you have in your vehicle. And maybe if you have a larger vehicle, it's not that big a deal. But for me, anything that's going to use like a standard power outlet, like the one you would find in your house, even though at this point I have 3 choices, one here on my 300 watt power station and one over there on my 700 watt inverter, they just tend to be more of a pain in the butt to use, as well as usually, not always, but usually a higher power draw. So anything that you use consistently, and I'm saying that knowing in my next video I'm going to talk about something I just bought that I love that uses a standard house plug, but it's still kind of a pain, and I still want to keep it to a minimum, and not an everyday use thing. And while the fan itself, the Ryobi fan, which worked great, it gave me great air, but I had nowhere to hook it because it was so big. I ended up needing this space. Originally when I redid the van, I had it sitting right here, but I ended up needing this space for like my tea and my blender, and then I have like some protein powder back there. And I ended up just needed that space for other stuff, and you know, it was just too big. I never had a good place for it. I never had a good place to sit it. It needed to either be plugged in via a standard plug, which would be fine in a house or in a construction site, or maybe even a larger van. But for my van, it was just too much and too big, and so I gave it away. I got me this little clip fan at first, and then I picked up these 2 other USB fans. I tried a couple of positions, and using the hooks already in the van right here and on the other side mirrored are the best. I can tilt them a little bit, and when I have all 3 going on a semi-hot day, like they don't replace AC, but I've been able to sort it out in a way where I always have a way to point a fan at me and get some nice air going. Of course, you need to have the windows open. That one's actually not open, it's closed with the bright, but the one in front of me is like, it has like a 2-inch gap right now. Like if somebody really wanted to come look at me right here sitting in the van, they could. You know, obviously you need airflow, you need to open some windows, so it's not gonna like be AC stealth, you know, in the middle of the night. But like if you're at a park and you can crack open your windows and kind of chill in your van and like have these fans going, the 3 of them do a decent job. Now, like I said, on a seriously hot day, you know, you can't beat actual AC, but it is a way to keep cool, to stay chill. A lot of times I find just getting out of the van during the hottest part of the day is actually cooler than being in the van, you know. So if you can find a place to get out of the van, outside hot is usually less problematic than inside hot, and that's what I've found. A lot of people have asked me, what do you do for heat? I turn on a fan. If that doesn't work, I go and find a cool place to be. There's no big magic formula for it. I know this video was really about the inverter, but while I was doing the inverter, I needed to take care of that as well. I've had like the cables coiled up with that little Y strip ready to go for a minute, and I just haven't like tried it or plug it in. So I'm glad everything works. The inverter seems to work. You know, the whole system seems to be going and doing exactly what I want it to do, and I'm pretty happy with it.